Mountain. The following is a presentation of the Championship Racing Network.
Drivers, start your engines. Pull those belts down tight one more time, warm up those tires, hit your marks, and let's go racing, boys and girls. Nascar, Indycar, Formula One, Formula E, and NHRA Racing Talk. This is the Championship Racing Network. Now here is your host, Steve West and Matt Nicholson, with producer John Myers.
Indeed, the gang is all here on this snowy Saturday.
I think the term is blustery.
Is that what you want to call it?
That's a little more appropriate. Yeah, blustery.
At least we didn't call it refreshing.
Well, there is that.
Yeah, really. Good grief. The gang is all here on a blustery, snowy, windy, icy, all around, hey, old man winter ain't dead yet day in Alabama.
We will be right
Welcome
back.
to East Central Alabama and, Mother Nature, old man winter, not cooperating.
Yep.
We'll get it all right, though, because you know what? It's another weekend. And we get to talk about racing for the next couple of hours. I'm Steve West. That's Matt Nicholson. Producer John Myers here. You can catch us, of course, on our flagship station, which is 95.1 The Mountain. Or if you're outside of East Central Alabama or heading out of that, but you can still listen to it or still want to listen to us, you can via the 95.1 The Mountain app. Or if you really want to take a look at us, go to CRN Live on YouTube. That's right, YouTube. Go to search out CRN Live, and you can watch us there. We're live right now.
That we are.
We are?
We are.
Okay.
Yep. Are we? You're the man in charge of YouTube.
Yeah,
You tell me.
I'm looking at it right now.
YouTube is up and running. I don't know if
let's
we're
go.
alive.
We
Well,
are live.
What'll pass for that on a snowy Saturday in Alabama?
Yep.
Hey, only 2 races to quickly recap this week from last weekend. Talk about Xfinity Series last Saturday. That's going to lead us off. After being a part-timer in 2021 but nailing down multiple wins in that process, the grandson of Ty Gibbs got promoted, no shock to anybody, to full-time in the number 54 Supra in the Xfinity Series with some fairly heady expectations. He doesn't feel that pressure too much, it appears. He has his first win of 2022 already. He pulled away from the field on a final restart with 6 laps to go, wrapping up an eventful day for the 19-year-old. He began the day by getting into the number 39 of veteran driver Ryan Sieg, sending Sieg spinning and hitting the wall. The team was still working on the car to get it back on track when a red flag fell due to weather conditions out in Las Vegas. Not rain. Well, a little bit of rain mixed with some sleet and mixed with some snow in Las Vegas. Thanks for sending us that, Las Vegas. We appreciate it.
That was a little bit of a head scratcher.
Yeah, no kidding. So during the red flag period, Sieg wandered his way on over to Gibbs. The two had words during that red flag period. We're going to get more into that when we get into the news. When things got restarted, Las Vegas native Noah Gregson looked like the world beater. He won the first 2 segments, but he got a timely push by Justin Allgaier. That is what pushed Gibbs out front. He was able to hold off Gregson to the checkers, lock himself into the playoffs. Gibbs first, Gregson second, Daniel Hemrick third, trailed by Josh Berry, Justin Allgaier, Landon Castle, Sheldon Creed, Brett Moffitt, A.J. Allmendinger, and Brandon Jones making up your top 10 there. Again, 2 drivers are locked into the playoffs, Gibbs and Austin Hill, who won at Daytona. Rest of your 12 drivers in on points are Gregson, Allmendinger, Justin Allgaier, Josh Berry, Daniel Hemrick, Riley Erbst, Anthony Alfredo, Sam Mayer, Ryan Sieg, and Brandon Jones. Again, see how this all washes out as we go through the season.
Yeah, it's
There's some comers and goers in there. We'll find out who's who here within the next about 4 or 5 races, I think.
Yeah, I see 2 already that will probably won't be there by the end of the.
If I were to guess, I'm going to go Ryan Sieg and Anthony Alfredo.
Ding, ding, ding.
Sunday's Cup Series race, also in Vegas, is a lesson in not counting your chickens before they hatch. 2-time Cup Series champion and hometown boy Kyle Busch appeared to be on cruise control late in the race, but you always get that late race crash that prompts NASCAR overtime, and that, of course, jumbles the whole thing up. Well, all the lead lap cars, including Kyle Busch, came down for fresh or fresher tires, at least. And when the field reassembled for the restart, no less than 300 cars got out front because they decided to do a 2-tire change instead of a 4-tire change. Kyle Busch restarted 4th. A push on the restart from William Byron got Alex Bowman and allowed Alex Bowman and Kyle Larson, who had a strong ride all day, to start pulling away from the field and settle it between themselves. Bowman on the outside was able to keep up the momentum. He got past your defending champion. He claims the win. It's one that Kyle Busch was very unhappy with. We'll get into that momentarily when we get into the news as well, because, well, it's too good to just kind of run quickly over here, truth be told. The top 10, Bowman, your winner, Larson second, Ross Chastain, who earlier in the race claimed Trackhouse Racing's first ever stage win. He finished 4th, then Kyle Busch in 5th. William Byron, Eric Almirola, the only driver with a top 10 in each race so far this season. Tyler Reddick, Martin Truex Jr., Chase Elliott, and Christopher Bell. 3 races in, 3 drivers are locked into the playoffs already. They are Kyle Larson, Austin Cindric, and Bowman. Rest of the drivers who are in on points at this time starts with Martin Truex Jr., John's driver. Then you got Joey Logano, John's not driver. Yeah. Kyle Busch, Eric Almirola, Chase Elliott, Austin Dillon, Bubba Wallace, Kurt Busch, Brad Keselowski, Ryan Blaney, Chase Briscoe, Eric Jones, Kevin Harvick. Yeah, we're still in that odd situation at the beginning of the year where you got some pretty big names like William Byron and Denny Hamlin, who are on the outside looking in. But again, remember, we're only 3 races into this particular season, so lots of changes to happen here, too.
33 more to go.
Yep, and 23 more to go before the end of the regular season, so there you go. Last night had some action on the track related to the ARCA Menard Series.
Yes.
They were out in Phoenix. We're going to get into that because there was some pretty big news. We don't generally cover the ARCA Menard Series a whole lot, but they had a pretty unfortunate incident that happened in Texas earlier on this week. But that team was able to kind of recover and got into the race last night.
Yeah,
anyway.
they did. They did.
We'll detail all that later. I'll let you kind of detail the race, though. That way they kind of get an idea of what happened, because this kicked off our racing weekend out in Phoenix.
Yeah, it started, I think it was about 6:30, 5:30 yesterday afternoon, something like that. Considering what happened for the DGR team this week, it was a pretty, I'm not going to say fairy tale ending, but it was it was a really, really good ending. Being involved Tuesday, we'll go ahead and detail it on out. Tuesday in Longview, Texas, the number 17 DGR hauler got involved in a traffic accident about 4 a.m. It was around 4 a.m. in the morning, where a SUV pulling a utility trailer, of all things, cut the hauler off in traffic, and he couldn't get slowed down in time, so he made evasive action and caused the hauler to careen into the median, hit a concrete barrier, burst into flames. Unfortunate situation.
Yeah.
Burned the tractor all the way to the ground, and burned, I'm going to say, probably 40% of the trailer with all the equipment in it.
Probably, give or take. We didn't. We decided not to go with pictures on this.
Yeah,
we could have, but it didn't seem right.
Yeah, it didn't. It didn't at all. The driver, Steven Stotts, unfortunately lost his life in the accident.
Yep.
The 2 passengers that were in the truck, co-drivers, they're still in the hospital in Texas, and they're in stable condition, which is great. But the loss of life is very unfortunate in the whole situation.
Yeah, and the driver of the SUV that you were talking about, he also ended up in the hospital. He, last we heard, was listed in stable condition as well.
But the one thing that I found that was absolutely wild about the entire situation, the driver of the SUV pulling the trailer, you know where he was from?
No.
Birmingham.
Well, there you go.
From Birmingham. But last night in the General Tire 150, that said team, number 17 team of Taylor Gray, went on to take the win last night. Pretty emotional win, if you ask me.
Oh, I imagine.
There was, I think it was 3 restarts within the last 10 laps, due to 2 of them being by the same car, which that means go. But Taylor Gray went on to take the win after the last restart on the green-white checker, not green-white checker. ARCA's actually grasping themselves now on that. But Taylor Gray went on to take the win. You had Daniel Dye in second, Sammy Smith third, Raja Caruth fourth, Jake Drew rounding out the top five, Jesse Love sixth, Nick Sanchez seventh, Josh Berry eighth, Derek Krause ninth, and Connor Mozak in 10th, piloting Brett Holmes' car last night.
There you go. Do we know what his plans are, Brett's plans are as far as the season? He's racing much ARCA this year? I know he's got a lot of plans to do a whole lot of Truck Series racing.
Tentatively, to my knowledge, here's 3 known ARCA starts on the schedule.
Okay. I'm going to guess Kansas is one of them.
No.
Really?
Kansas is not one of them.
I'll be darned.
Connor Mozak has the Kansas starts. I think it's Talladega.
That's not a surprise.
No, that's not a surprise. It's pretty much the analogy for him in Talladega. He's out for blood.
Absolutely. And he should be.
You've got, I think it's Michigan, the other start. And then I'm pretty sure Nashville Fairgrounds for the ARCA East race.
There you go. Okay. Other racing this weekend, later today, Xfinity Series running the United Rentals 200 at Phoenix Raceway. MRN and Fox Sports 1 have the coverage beginning 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 3:30 p.m. Central Time. Cup Series will get rolling tomorrow at Phoenix Raceway, running the Ruoff Mortgage 500. It's that oddly shaped 1-mile tri-oval at Phoenix. Fox and MRN Radio have the coverage tomorrow, 3:30 p.m. Eastern, 2:30 p.m. Central Time, and then straight line racing fans can then turn to Fox Sports 1. You'll get coverage of the Amalie Motor Oil Gator Nationals, Gainesville, Florida. Expectations are that the finals of the Camping World Drag Racing Series will begin not live, unfortunately, but on a delayed basis, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central Time. Camping World Truck Series, Formula E, IndyCar, all in season, but are off this particular weekend. But next weekend, it's going to be a busy one.
A little bit.
So make sure that you tune in to the early part of the show next weekend, because we'll be detailing a lot, and I mean a lot, of racing for next weekend. Let's get back to Vegas here. Let's start off with some Cup Series news. And we noted this during the race recap just a moment ago. We told you to stick around. The race starting to wind down on Sunday. Kyle Busch leading when a spin by Eric Jones, who was having really actually a pretty good day up to that point. It also caused big problems for Bubba Wallace. It brought out a big-time yellow, caused overtime. 200 Motorsports drivers ended up battling it out. Alex Bowman won. Well, all of this got under the skin of two-time Cup Series champion Kyle Busch because, again, Busch was leading before the yellow came out and, in fact, had a pretty good lead. We have to edit this because, well, it's a family show. He went on a tirade on the team radio during the cool-down lap, said some blanking guy who backs into every blanking win that he ever blanking gets backs into another blanking win. Wow.
Son of a gun.
Yeah.
In the nice way.
Uh-huh. When approached on pit road for post-race interviews, Busch didn't talk about his tirade. He only said this, quote, "We tried to make the most of it out there, but luck just wasn't on our side," and then gave credit to the team because he noted he was racing a backup car, having, well, cracked up his primary in practice. Said, quote, "Just a great effort by everybody at Toyota, Joe Gibbs Racing, for all the hard work. My guys on the 18 team," he noted the 11 and the 19 and the 20 team because apparently those guys got in there to get the car ready as well. He said they just did a really good job of getting us here today. We had no choice. We had to be here, but they worked really hard all night long, put in a lot of hours, so that was good to have the opportunity to go out and race for the win, but that was really good too. As for Bowman, nobody mentioned the Busch tirade in initial interviews. It was later when he apparently learned about what Busch had said on his team radio, and he kind of took something of the same tack that he did after last year when after Martinsville and he won, he ticked off another Gibbs driver, Denny Hamlin. Hamlin called Bowman a hack after that. Bowman simply took to social media with his tongue firmly planted in his cheek, and he just posted, quote, "Yikes!" T-shirt? I like where he's going with this.
Yeah.
Apparently, we're not privy to the entire conversation, so we really don't know, but apparently Kyle Busch realized that Alex Bowman knew of what it was that he had been screaming, and the two of them talked during the course of this week, and apparently things have somewhat smoothed out.
A little bit, yeah. I'm looking at the shirt now. It's on pre-order, and it's still on pre-order because obviously the first batch is already sold out.
Oh, yeah.
It's the Las Vegas sign with dice and chips with the ABR logo, Alex Bowman Racing logo. It's just that Alex Bowman where you would see the like the "Welcome to Las Vegas" sign, and where it says Las Vegas, where it would say Las Vegas, Nevada, it says "All luck, no skill."
I like that. That's good.
And this is the cool part, and he takes every situation and he makes something good out of it.
Yeah, I agree.
Proceeds of the shirt, on his tweet, he sent it out. He said, proceeds are backing into an animal shelter near you.
Backing into. Nice.
The percentage of the proceeds of these shirts, 18.
Nice.
18%.
I like that. That's good stuff. The next thing that we're going to get into is dealing with something that I haven't heard of this up until now.
I've actually had this happen.
Okay. This didn't seem to be a problem before we got to the next gen car, which if you're listening to MRN radio or PRN radio, or if you watched Fox,
yeah,
and I heard about it first on Fox, Larry McReynolds got to talking about it. Apparently they're mounting the seat a little bit different in this generation car as opposed to the last generation car.
Yeah.
And it's causing some weird situations with some of the drivers. We'll get into full details. I want to take a break first, and when we come back, we'll kind of get into this a little bit more, have a lot more long-form conversation about it, because I think this deserves a little bit more time than what we've got left in this particular segment. So let's go ahead and take that break right now. When we come back, we will get into those details, because apparently, well, something's not fitting right. We'll get into it all next, right here on CRN.
Stay right here for more on the Championship Racing Network. Championship Racing Network.
Hey, welcome back into it. I'm Steve West along with Matt Nicholson and Mr. John Myers behind the board, making everything sound as smooth as possibly and putting us on YouTube as well. Don't forget about that. Go to YouTube, search CRN Live. You can subscribe
Don't
right there.
touch that dial.
And check us out at any point in time. And you can check out older shows as well. And if you subscribe, anytime that we go live, you'll get a little notification. Hey, they're going live.
That's right.
Pretty cool.
I'm not live.
You're working on it, though. All right, so we talked about situations between Alex Bowman and Kyle Busch. This is a problem that goes back to probably really more than just... I'll tell you what, hang on. I want to give this plenty of time here, okay? So let's talk about this here. We got weird weather here in the state of Alabama. I mean, look out your window right now. If you're in East Central Alabama, or quite frankly, listening or watching us anywhere in the northern half of the state of Alabama, you look out your window. You either got ice or you got snow going on. What the heck? And then, 48 hours ago, it was 70 degrees.
Yeah, no joke.
Huh? All of this stuff plays havoc, truth be told, with the property that you're on and, quite frankly, the property you're in. I'm talking about your house. You want to make sure that it's in as good a shape as possible. And if you're anywhere in the state of Alabama, north, south, east, west, as long as you're within the borders of the state of Alabama, you need to know this number, 205-362-6419. That leads you to a guy by the name of Michael Hart. He works with Ox Foundation Solutions, or you could email him, mike@oxfoundations.com. Have him set up an appointment, come out, take a look at your house, make sure that the foundation is good to go. And here's the thing. If there's nothing wrong, he's not going to go around making up stuff just to try and make you spend money with him. He wants to make sure that your house is in as good a shape as it can be. If there's something wrong, you can take it to the bank. Unfortunately, there's something wrong. He'll have it detailed. He'll have a detailed estimate as well. If there's nothing wrong, he'll put it in writing and hand it to you and say, thank you very much. Have a great day. Because if there is something wrong later on down the line, you'll go back to them because you trust them, because they treated you right. 205-362-6419 or mike@oxfoundations.com. Set up the appointment, have him come out, no cost, no obligation, written foundation assessment. If it turns out that there is something wrong with the house and the foundation that does need fixing, you've got it in detailed writing and you've got the estimate sitting there. And then you say, hey, listen, I heard about it on CRN. Mention the promo code WEST that you heard right here. You get 15% off the total that you just quoted you. Nothing to lose. 205-362-6419 or mike@oxfoundations.com. We appreciate them bringing you portions of today's show. All right. Not that it doesn't happen, but it seems more prevalent now than it has been over the past couple of years. Mm-hmm. More than one driver already this season has talked about it. Legs going numb during the race. Tyler Reddick was the first to report it at Auto Club Speedway, I think, although he may have had a problem at Daytona as well.
It was Auto Club.
But he said he thought his team had made some of the adjustments necessary to fix the problem after that, but unfortunately the numbness happened again in Las Vegas last weekend. Reddick said during an appearance on Sirius XM Satellite Radio on Monday, quote, I had numbness in both, not just one, but both of my legs. I didn't know where the gas pedal was very well. I could not feel the brake pedal very well, so I actually made it worse, which isn't good. I don't know. I left the race just absolutely dumbfounded. I couldn't believe it got worse. We made it worse. He added this, quote, it's a totally new cockpit. The cockpit on this car is deeper. A lot of things have changed. It's a little bit easier maybe to get your feet too high, too low, maybe not get the blood flow that you need. So I'm hoping that we get it fixed because I'm going to be in a lot of trouble if I can't use my brake pedal or left foot when we get to Phoenix. Reddick, as we noted, isn't the only one who noted their legs going numb. Eric Almirola reported at one point in time during last Sunday's race in Vegas that both of his legs had gone numb as well. Again, we didn't hear a whole lot about this over the last couple of years. Mm-hmm. And Larry McReynolds said that part of it, and I'm not certainly saying that this is all of it, but part of it may be the fact that they're mounting the seat in a different way in this new gen car. And I can't remember whether it was Reddick or Almirola. I want to say it was Reddick who said that they measured him for his lap belt and leg belts during the off season, and he's been doing a whole lot of squats. So he was attributing it to a muscle buildup. I think he was.
Not the problem.
I think he was trying to make more out of that than what it is.
He was
There's
trying to make
something
light
else
of it.
going on.
He was trying to make light of it for sure.
There's something else going on here. We'll take it from the driver's perspective because you kind of teased it. You've had this situation happen to you as well.
Yeah, I've had it happen before. It's
Okay.
There's a huge difference, a massive difference from running a 30-lap race versus 150, 200, 300. Big difference.
Sure.
I'm all but sure and all but positive. No, Tyler, it has nothing to do with doing leg workouts because those belts are adjustable.
It sounded good, though.
Yeah, sounded great. Good job.
Way to talk about your working out.
That is purely a seat mounting issue, and Larry McReynolds hit the nail on the head and drove it through the coffin 3 times over.
Okay.
All right. The problem that I had, and this was within my first 2 years, and I had to do a couple of adjustments on stuff. If you're sitting in the car and your seat is mounted, the base of the seat is mounted at too much of a pitch. Say if it's like this right here. Your pedals are here. If the seat's mounted up here, it's therefore got your legs at a 90 to 180 degree angle.
Okay.
If it's too much at a 90 or 180 degree angle, yes, it puts the pressure points on your hips and your sciatic nerves,
Sure.
which therefore will cause the numbness.
Yeah.
I figured that out quick, unfortunately.
Yeah, I was going to say it's more about pressure on the nerves.
It's pressure.
Than it
It's
is
the pressure
anything
point in
else.
your hips and your lower back
Yeah.
that causes your leg to go numb.
So it
And-
initially might have felt comfortable
At first,
or looked comfortable
Yeah.
when you first got in it for testing. Over the course of a long haul, like 400 mile or 500 mile race, not so much.
yeah, where the race that I had it happen in was a year-end race at the track I was racing at, and it was a 50-lap winner-take-all race. About lap 20, I'm going, wait a minute here. And my right leg didn't go numb, but my left leg, my brake leg did. So I was having to 1 foot the car. You don't 1 foot a race car. You use 2 feet. That wasn't very fun. I tried using my left leg when it was numb, but what I had to do, instead of using the ball of my foot, I used where I knew where the highest pressure point on my foot was. I was using my heel instead of my foot, instead of the ball of my foot.
Trying to get any kind of feeling whatsoever.
Trying to get anything I could. Well, it didn't work. So I had to go to 1 foot brake, 1 foot gas. That lasted about 5 laps, and I just had to go, forget it. I'm going to have to use my heel just to get by. And then when we go under caution, I would loosen my lap belt up on my left side to where I could lean on my right side a little bit harder under caution, take some of the pressure off my left hip, and get where I could get some feeling back into it. That helped it, but it didn't cure it. So during the off season, I took the seat. Everybody knows mounting a dirt car seat is 1,000% different than mounting an asphalt car seat. All I had to do was just take some pieces of steel, braced it behind the seat, and pitched the seat forward a little bit, pitching the bottom of the seat down to where it wouldn't put so much pressure on my hips.
There you go.
Cured the problem.
Despite all this, and again, hopefully they're going to get this situation fixed, and at least 2 teams are reporting it. There are probably some other drivers that are dealing with it on some level. But despite that problem, NASCAR seems so far rather happy with the Gen 7 racer, at least at one aspect. It has leveled the playing field. Again, very minor test run here, 3 races. But right now, stats are showing that 25 drivers have scored at least one top 10 finish this season. This marks the first time for that to happen since 1973. Think about that for a minute. Only 2 drivers to race this season, Greg Biffle and Jacques Villeneuve, had been born then. How's that? In fact, according to NASCAR's own records, having at least 25 different drivers, score a top 10 in the first 3 races of the season is rare enough to the point where in the entirety of NASCAR's history, it's only happened 7 times. Biggest number of drivers ever to claim a top 10 in the first 3 races is 27. That happened twice, 1965 and again 1971. You got to remember, this is pre-modern era, which they consider starting in 72. 3 times, 1960, 1970, and then 1973. 26 different drivers nabbed a top 10 in the first 3 races. And then 25 different drivers locking down a top 10 finish in the first 3 races. It's happened twice. First time, 1950, and then, of course, this season. Only one driver, as we noted, Eric Almirola, has claimed a top 10 in each race this season, but he warns this. Quote, "We're still learning this car. There's a lot to learn about it. We're still trying to figure a lot of things out." Well, hey, 3 top 10s in 3 races. So far, so good.
Yeah.
Keep it up.
Yeah.
Makes some people, though, I will admit, kind of wonder what's going on with the other SHR cars. Because they seem...
Yeah.
I mean, Cole Custer looked pretty good, and then Las Vegas came along, and not so much. Kevin Harvick, he's there, but he's not really blowing up anybody's skirt.
Yeah, he's not flashy yet.
Yeah.
Keyword, yet.
Chase Briscoe's got a couple of top 10.
Chase Briscoe's this.
Yeah.
Cole
Chase Briscoe's on a roller coaster.
Cole Custer is this.
Yeah.
Eric
Slowly.
Almirola's this. Harvick is this.
They're still trying to figure this all out.
All right, before you say this one, if anybody had this one on their bingo, this is the phrase of the day is, did you have it on your bingo card?
No.
Did anyone have an ARCA team that's been in mothball since 2016 coming out of the woodworks, building a cup team on their bingo card?
And if you did, I bet you we can throw the monkey wrench into this. They're grabbing a former F1 driver to pilot it. Yeah.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
On
Ready for this?
on ovals.
Yes. Got another new team coming into the Cup Series this season. The organization is called Team Stange. You can see the picture on our YouTube feed, which is courtesy of NASCAR.com. This is the number 79 Ford Mustang, sponsored by Dignity Gold and their DIGAU token, D-I-G-A-U. I don't know what they call it. They have run in the ARCA Menard Series, but the most recently that they ran in the ARCA Menard Series, you got to go all the way back to 2016 when they had Frank Kimmel driving. The guy who's going to be running 8 Cup Series races this year is a 46-year-old Brazilian driver by the name of Tarso Marquez. Marquez is best known for open-wheel racing. He's got 24 starts in Formula One. The most recent one there goes back to Team Minardi in 2001. Remember them, kids? Probably not. Over 4 seasons, he racked up some 27 Champ Car starts. That's right. That's before Champ Car and IRL formed Indycar in the late 2000s. So let's just say it's been a while.
Let's see his best career F1 finish.
Oh, we'll get back to that.
Yeah.
Here's the schedule that they plan to run this year, and it's all really pretty much second half of the year. First race, they plan to enter Indy Road Course. Then they're going to go to Watkins Glen. Okay, 2 road courses, we get that.
Smart with a Formula One driver.
Yeah, then they're going to go to Daytona.
Not smart.
In the regular season finale, no less. Then during the playoff period, they're going to go to the Charlotte Roval, going to go to Vegas,
Not smart.
go to Homestead,
Not smart.
and they're going to run the season finale in Phoenix.
Not very smart.
Can you say duh?
Uh-huh. Team Stange's last time they were ever even on a track in any way, shape, or form as a race team. You got to go back to the 2019 Indy 500 when they had Oriol Servia driving and they finished 22nd. As for Tarso Marquez, he's a veteran driver. We had told you that, hailing out of Brazil, 46 years old. Drove for the Minardi team 1996, 1997, and then in 2001. As he raced for them, he ended up really having to retire the car more often than not. But when racing, he did consistently finish in the top 15. He claimed 3 top 10s in 10 complete races. 1999, 2000, 2004, and 2005, he raced for what we now call IndyCar, first for Team Penske, and then the last 3 seasons for Dale Coyne Racing, now with 2 top 10s. This will be his first foray that we can find into stock car racing of any kind, much less the Cup Series.
Oof. Okay. It's March the 12th. Talladega is officially a little over a month and a half.
Yeah.
Hint, hint.
Mm-hmm.
Don't take that hint very loosely. Does anybody want to place bets on which ARCA car he will be in to get approval to run the super speedway?
Yeah.
He will have to run that.
He will. He's going to have to. There's no way around it. Running the Indy road course and at Watkins Glen is not going to be enough for NASCAR to go, yeah, okay, we're going to give you a super speedway license.
Yes, this will be his reaction right here. F1 and F Formula 3000 champ car back in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah, 2 decades ago.
Watkins Glen, hey, this is like riding a horse. I can just get back on. Indy, yeah. Daytona, hey, buddy.
Daytona is an entirely different animal. Although, from all appearances, Atlanta's going to be looking a lot like them. We'll get back to that in a second. Listen, Team Stange, good luck. I wish you nothing but the best, but this might not have been your best move. Tarso Marquez behind the wheel at the road course races, okay, you might want to find a driver who's got a little bit more experience to run the oval track races. I'm just saying. This might not be the best move to put Tarso Marquez at Daytona, at Vegas, at Homestead, and at Phoenix. I'm just not seeing it.
Someone that's never driven a stock car. Someone that apparently hasn't been in a motorsports car in over 10 years.
About 15, actually.
15,
from what
actually.
I can tell. At least here in the United States. He may be doing something in Brazil. I don't know.
And guess what is not allowed in NASCAR? Testing.
Oops. Sorry, folks. When NASCAR heads to Atlanta, that's next weekend, in case you hadn't realized. You can expect to see something that up to now has only been featured at 2 different tracks, Daytona and Talladega. The double yellow line. We all know what the double yellow line means. If you go to Daytona or Talladega, you know what it means. NASCAR's COO, wait a minute, more on that later. NASCAR's new COO, Chief Operating Officer, Steve O'Donnell, noted the new higher banking and the new pavement in Atlanta, which all likely means jump up in speed, and that means they're likely going to go double yellow line like Daytona and Atlanta, or Daytona and Talladega. Those rules will apply at Atlanta. Speeds are expected to be high-end, and should any driver go below the double yellow line to make a pass, you'll get penalized. They thought earlier on in the year, well, we've got these different packages that we're going to run, and we've got these separate rules and specs for super speedway races, and we might use them at Atlanta. Atlanta's becoming much more of a super speedway all the time.
Do you see, and maybe it's just me, but do you see them turning Atlanta into the SMI super speedway? It's coming clearer and clearer every day.
It does seem to be coming that way. Yeah, I would agree.
Because you know good and well, ISC/NASCAR is not parting ways with Daytona or Talladega.
No.
So they got to get their super speedway somehow to have some super speedway racing.
Well, and, Atlanta for a long time had been a very kind of a destination track, and they even had the season finale for several years, late 90s into the 2000s.
Yep.
But since then, things kind of seem to drop off. And we were there last year. And I would say,
2 years ago.
Was it 2 years ago?
It was 2 years
Whatever.
ago.
It was about, 75%, give or take, full in the stands?
75 or 80, yeah.
Okay. Whereas Daytona for the 500 was sold out. Talladega, as a general rule, is 95% to a sellout.
It's no less than 90. That's low balling.
Atlanta has needed something to separate themselves out from quite frankly, all of the other 1.5 mile tri-oval cookie cutter tracks. This will do it. I can't blame SMI for trying this because
no.
The higher banking separates out Atlanta from Charlotte and Kansas and, not all necessarily SMI owned tracks, Texas and Las Vegas and all that. It does do that.
Yeah.
It gives them something else to look at. I'll be honest with you. There's part of me that wouldn't mind heading on over there and checking this thing out live and in person.
That's what I was about to say. Road trip.
We might have to do that because, again, brand new pavement, higher banking, a little bit narrower in the corners. We've already heard about all of this stuff, so we knew that this was going to be something to watch. Now, all of a sudden, we got this double yellow line situation coming in.
But it's where I think they're missing the boat. I'm gonna say it this way. You can't tell me, even factoring in new asphalt, new configuration, you cannot tell me they're going to be wide open for 334 laps at Atlanta.
They can't be.
They can't be.
No, I can't see it. I don't see it at all. We'll have one more note on the Cup Series when we come back. We will say this. If you find yourself down in Daytona and you were thinking you were going to be looking at some replica car of the Daytona 500 winner, maybe not. Stick around. We'll do that, and we'll get into some Xfinity Series conversation. We'll talk Ty Gibbs, Ryan Sieg when we come back right here on CRN.
We will be right back with more on the Championship Racing Network. Fuel only, fuel only. Go, go, go. We're back to the Championship Racing Network.
Yeah, one more note on the Cup Series news and information here on CRN. I'm Steve West with Matt Nicholson, John Myers running the board. Thank you very much for checking us out on this oddly snowy Saturday in East Central Alabama. Go away, Mother Nature. You're drunk.
Looks like
Sunshine's out now.
Looks like it's tapering off.
Mother Nature, go away. You're drunk. The Daytona 500 winning car of Austin Cindric happened to survive the West Coast swing, so Team Penske has decided, at least for now, to retire the car and have sent it to Daytona. It will take its place in the Motorsports Hall of Fame of America, where the Daytona 500 winning car traditionally sits all year to be shown off to the fans who show up down there. The museum had planned, because of, well, supply chain issues, to take one of the Gen 7 prototypes, wrap it to look like Cindric's car did when it was sitting in Victory Lane, and show that car off all year. But the captain himself, Roger Penske, decided that they had enough cars in stock, called an audible, sent the actual race-winning car down to Daytona on Tuesday, said that the tradition that has been going on since 1997 needed to be kept alive. Congratulations to the captain.
Well, with their 7-car rule for each team this year, and they retired a car, how they're going to circumvent the 7-car rule? They're going to be down to 6 for all year?
I bet you NASCAR gives them a little bit of a variance.
Oh, of course. They're going to change the rule.
A little bit of slack there.
Yeah. Let's go back to Vegas here and talk about the Xfinity Series. We talked a little bit about Kyle Busch losing his ever-loving mind on the radio after he, had been leading and then, finished 5th. Seems that the Xfinity Series race also saw some fireworks between a couple of drivers. In this case, Ty Gibbs and Ryan Sieg. They had a conversation on pit road during the race, which that's because it was weather-induced red flag. Now, no microphones were on hand to record exactly what the two of them said to each other, but you had a visibly upset Sieg finally turning away from the young Gibbs, showed it by saying after the fact, quote, "It's tough, but it is what it is. He's definitely going to have to learn his lesson. You know what I mean?" Yeah. And if you didn't, we found out later. Sieg also leveled an observation about Gibbs, noting that the equipment that he happens to be driving, telling the Fox pit lane reporter, that the young Gibbs has the best equipment in the Xfinity Series, and if he had just shown a bit more patience, he wouldn't have even needed to move Sieg out of the way. Gibbs could have driven around him. Agree?
No.
No?
Carry on.
Okay.
No.
Initially, the teenager, again, we mentioned he's a 19-year-old kid. Now, granted, he's not eligible for Sunoco Rookie of the Year. He had the rookie stripes taken off last year. He ran too many races, but he was just running the ARCA Menard Series on a full-time basis just last year. He was initially adamant he'd done nothing wrong. He said, quote, "I told him, if my goal was to wreck you and end your day, you wouldn't have made it around another lap." Moments later, during the same interview, he seemed to realize he might have been in the wrong. He apologized for ruining Sieg's day, noting the impact it had and would have on Sieg's family-run operation. Now, when the race restarted, both drivers, again, racing, but Sieg's got some damage. Matter of fact, he might have had a little bit too much damage because right about the same time NASCAR started to call Sieg to go into the pits for not being up to speed, Gibbs happened to be catching him on the track. Sieg seemed to try to make a move to wreck the youngster, but he missed, spun himself out again.
Yeah, it was obvious what he was doing.
Sieg then pulled his car behind the wall. He was credited with a 36th finish out of 38 cars. In his post-race victory interview, yes, he won. Ty Gibbs apologized again, said, quote, "I want to apologize to the 39 for the contact I made. It wasn't my best decision, and I'm sorry to the whole group. Ryan's family, they worked so hard. I just want to say thank you to Justin Allgaier for my push, too. I had fun acting with the junior motorsports cars as well. Hopefully we can keep it going and win some more races." So he does realize that he was somewhat at fault for causing the wreck that, ended Ryan Sieg's day for all intents and purposes. But you seem to not think that Ty Gibbs would have gotten around Ryan Sieg under basic racing circumstances? Why not?
There was effectively, that was the Monster Energy target Toyota, because he had a target squarely on that 54 car and was going after him. He just miscalculated his move. But I don't think that they're going to have an issue with cars because there's a little team that supplies and helps RSS Racing. You may have heard of them before. It's called Stewart Haas.
That's right, too. There's some team in the Cup Series?
I think they're going to be okay because all of a sudden they have this alliance with Stewart Haas, and they go from 1 car to 3 cars.
Still, you don't want to crack up a car. And it looked like they were having a pretty good day.
They were.
Up to that point.
Yeah. You don't want to crack up a car, but desperate times call for desperate measures.
Keep your mind about you there, Ryan. Don't let this thing go on much longer.
Yep.
And then there's this odd situation. You kind of noticed it when it came to qualifying situation. 1 week after seeing the car go to victory lane with a Cup Series moonlighter Cole Custer driving at the SS Greenlight Racing 07 entry, a car prepped by Stewart Haas Racing, had Joe Graff Jr. driving in Vegas. Now, the best Graff could do was to bring the car home 29th, some 6 laps down. Huh? I mean,
Kids,
we know this. This was the exact same car.
Kids, this goes to show you that I'm just going to say it. Talent defines a car. Car doesn't define talent.
There you go. And then, hey, let's take this gaping, bleeding wound that SS Greenlight Racing had with a 6-lap down 29th place finish and throw a whole shaker of salt onto it. NASCAR determined that no less than 3 lug nuts were loose on the car at the end of the race. The minimum penalty for that many? The 29th place finish was disqualified, and he's officially now credited with 38th place out of, again, a 38-car field. Oops.
Yep.
Oh, by the way,
Yep.
that's not appealable.
Nope. It is
Enjoy
not.
that. And yet they're still going to run Joe Graff Jr. Over at Junior Motorsports, it's been no secret. Noah Gregson, highly talented driver, who's in top flight equipment, but he suffered a pretty good amount of bad luck in 2021. 2022, things appear, at least so far, to have turned for the better. Last weekend, 3rd straight top 3 finish to start the season. Now, this is a little different from Eric Almirola's 3rd straight top 10. This is top 3 finish. This is a pretty rare thing in Xfinity Series competition. It's a mark actually only equaled by very select names in what we now call Xfinity Series history. We're talking Hall of Fame caliber names for the most part. 2 of them are in. Dale Earnhardt Sr. did it. Terry Labonte did it. Kevin Harvick did it. Brad Keselowski did it. Elliott Sadler did it. And now Noah Gregson. That's it. Gregson puts his name in some pretty elite company as only the 6th driver to accomplish the feat, again, of finishing in the top 3 in each of the first 3 races of a season. Since the series began back in 1982 when we called it the Busch Series, only 1 driver started a season with 4 straight top 3 finishes. That was Kevin Harvick, 2005. There's one more connection, by the way, to this. Noah Gregson's crew chief is Luke Lambert. Luke Lambert has been a crew chief for 2 of the 6 instances of a driver kicking off the season with top 3 finishes in each of the top 3 races. Seems that he was the crew chief for Elliott Sadler when Sadler pulled off the feat back in 2012.
Mm-hmm.
Not bad company to be in.
Not at all. Not at all, sir.
Following last Friday evening's Camping World Truck Series race, Spencer Boyd was taken from the track to a local hospital for further evaluation following his last lap crash of the number 12 Young's Motorsports ride. Initially, he was complaining of shoulder discomfort in the infield care center. He later told Fox Sports reporter Bob Pockris he had suffered a dislocated shoulder, but said he should be good to go when the trucks head to Atlanta next weekend.
There's a kicker to this story.
I bet you there is.
There's a big kicker.
Because I was about to take the driver aspect of this and think, dislocated shoulder. I mean, yeah, we've seen some athletes do some pretty impressive things. Let's go, let's go back to Herschel Walker way back in 1980. Remember that, kids? Ask your grandparents. When he got his shoulder dislocated, I think on the 2nd play of the national championship game between Georgia and Notre Dame.
And kept playing.
And went over to the sidelines, had him pop it back in, and went and turned around and had something like 27 carries for 150-plus yards throughout the rest of the game.
Yeah.
We've seen some pretty impressive stuff, but we're talking about driving a truck, in this case at Atlanta, at, I would say, average speed 175. Is that conservative?
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay. So an average speed of 175 for, I think 200 miles.
Yeah, 134 laps, 175 miles an hour.
That's going to take a toll on what had been a dislocated shoulder, even if you've got the better part of 2 weeks to let it kind of heal.
Does anybody say cortisone shot? But I
could see that.
With this, there's a big caveat to this. He wrecked and had this accident with 3 laps to go.
Mm-hmm.
He sat on the inside wall of the backstretch at Vegas with 3 laps to go. Did the caution flag fly? No.
Yeah, that's a bit of a problem.
And Elton Sawyer, you can't tell us the officials and everything and can't give a legitimate answer as to what happened when the man that sits in this very chair on the morning show through the week at this very station used to be one of the spotter organizers at Talladega Superspeedway, and he knows how they're positioned.
Somebody wasn't watching.
Somebody wasn't paying attention.
Yeah.
You can't tell me that you missed that. Oh, we missed it. We're going to let them race 3 to go. Oh, there's a truck sitting there. Oh, let them keep going.
No.
Give me a break.
Not a good idea.
And this other one right here you're supposed to talk about, give me a break on this one.
Oh,
because it's been uncovered.
Mm-hmm. You ready for this? We just talked about this when it came to SS Greenlight Racing. They're finished disqualified from 3 loose lug nuts. Front Row Motorsports' Zane Smith and the number 38 truck, they were given a disqualification after post-race inspection noted at least 3 loose lug nuts from something earlier on in the year. Well, the team filed an immediate appeal. It was heard on Wednesday of this week. That result was upheld, so the race for them is a DQ. There's no further appeal, so instead of their second place result, they're credited with last.
It was actually not a loose lug nut appeal. It was actually supposedly an illegal lug nut.
Okay.
Directly from... Go ahead, John.
Was that one made in Mexico?
Apparently.
Across the border, really.
Because...
Illegal lug nut?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
There's a photo that Zane Smith shared on his social media. It's a tough... This is his tweet. Quote, tough pill to swallow from our team. From a supply issue of legal lug nuts that will get you a DQ from coming from the back twice to finish second. Xfinity's team owner Sam Hunt chimed in on his tweet and said, yes, this is a major problem. The lug nut on the right of the photo, you can clearly see it's one thread difference.
Yep.
It's a manufacturer problem. Sam,
And where is this photo located so we can go search for it, Matt?
it's on Zane Smith's Twitter page. Okay, here we go. Let me go.
Share that to John.
I will go, and it's something we may can revisit. I'll send this photo to John.
I'll tell you what. Yeah, we'll do this during the break. Let's go ahead and take our top of the hour break here. Go from hour 1 into hour 2. When we come back, we'll revisit it, and that way, hopefully, we'll have the picture up for you. And then we got some NASCAR news. Apparently, a couple of people have been promoted. We kind of hinted to that when we talked about Steve O'Donnell in his COO position. Yeah, that's a new one for him. Ben Kennedy also. What will they be doing? We'll tell you all about that when we come back. Superstar Racing Experience. They had a father-son duel last year. Will we see one in 2022? Maybe. That and so much more coming up next right here on CRN, hour 1 of the books.
Stay right here for more on the Championship Racing Network.
The NASCAR Cup Series.
Off of turn number 4, looking for the green flag, and it goes in the air, and we are underway.
West Coast Road Swing continues.
Bubble off of turn 2. 2 cars have hit the outside wall. It is Cody Ware.
At Phoenix Raceway.
Checkered flag in the air, and Martin Truex Jr. wins the Instacart 500 at Phoenix Raceway.
It's the Ruoff Mortgage 500.
Brought to you locally by Smokin' Hot Barbecue and the Kia Store, Anniston Gadsden.
Wash and Coin Laundry announces another Washin' for a Cause. All 5 Wash and Coin laundries in Anniston and Oxford will donate proceeds in support of Community Enabler. So that means when you wash and dry your clothes from designated machines, you'll be contributing to our community in several ways. Community Enabler has been serving Calhoun and surrounding counties for over 4 decades, providing food and needed items to citizens in need. Look for the designated machines when you take care of your laundry, and you'll be washing for a cause too. At all 5 locations of Wash and Coin Laundry, Anniston and Oxford.
For over 22 years, customers have counted on Mizell Heating and Air Conditioning to keep them warm in the winter and cool in the summer. Our top priority is your comfort, from emergency repairs and seasonal maintenance to the installation of our new Rheem heating and cooling system. You can count on us. We'll do the job right away. We're Mizell Heating and Air Conditioning, your Rheem Pro partner dealer since 1999. Give us a call today.
Four tires and 2 cans of fuel, and we're back to more racing action on the Championship Racing Network.
Hey, we are back. Technical problems keeping us from being able to put that up on YouTube. Sorry about that. But one thread, that's the whole lug nut issue. One thread. They need to get over it.
One thread difference. Xfinity Series team owner Sam Hunt chimed in when he shared this photo, and the media general Bob Pockris chimed in, stated that it indicates the appeal based on the argument that they did not modify the lug nuts, but some lug nuts they bought were non-compliant. The hard part was, for NASCAR is a history of teams removing threads. Team will likely respond to questioning availability of legal lug nuts at the track. Sam Hunt chimed in, our new box of stock lug nuts purchased for Vegas were all illegal.
Oh, not good.
Having our pit crew sort through every single lug before gluing onto the wheel in the pit box is a very tough issue. It's hard to find legal lugs.
Well, let's just call that inconvenient at the least.
It's not NASCAR's fault, because the rule's a rule, but need a solution from the supplier.
Uh-huh. I would say so, but no leeway from NASCAR either way.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, officials with the sanctioning body of NASCAR have announced 2 promotions within the company. Steve O'Donnell has now been named to the position of Chief Operating Officer, new title for him. He will continue to oversee competition and racing matters. He'll add track operations and strategic development of NASCAR to his duties, which means probably most of your track presidents under the NASCAR banner will report directly to Steve O'Donnell. He's been with NASCAR since 1996. Most recently was noted as Chief Racing Officer.
Oof.
Then you got Big Bill's great-grandson. Big Bill France's great-grandson is Ben Kennedy. Ben Kennedy has been named to the new position of Senior VP of Racing Development and Strategy. There, he will continue to oversee development of the schedules at the top levels of NASCAR, but he'll add taking over some track racing operations. He'll be over track services and officiating. Should have been there last weekend. Along with industry relations and overseeing the touring and weekly NASCAR series as well. In that situation, Ben Kennedy has already been talking about the 2023 schedule. The interesting thing about this is the fact that generally we don't see the next year's schedule until fall of the year before.
Late August, early September.
Yeah. He's saying we could get an early summer release this year. The first thing that he noted, he has until May 6th to let LA Coliseum officials know whether NASCAR is going to be going back there for the Busch Light Clash in 2023.
For the love, Ben. No.
Which is worse, that or this? Rumors continuing to circulate around a first ever for NASCAR's Top Series, a street course race in Chicago.
I will say this again. No. No, for the love, no. No.
If I had to choose which race to attend, if they were putting both races on, you know I'd go to the Windy City first.
You think so, huh?
Road course.
Okay. Kennedy said of this, quote, "We're definitely continuing to consider all options from a scheduling standpoint. Chicago has been one of them, and I think that it's no secret from the iRacing event that we had there last year. That said, nothing to confirm at this point, and we're still looking at a handful of different options on the table, not just as we think about 2023, but as we think about 24 and beyond, really trying to build out that roadmap for where we want to be in the future."
I'm going to say this point blank on this show. And I haven't even declared it a soapbox day, but I'm on it. I don't care.
Broke it out anyway.
I've driven that street course on iRacing. There's one word that I can describe it. Garbage.
Oh. Well, there you go.
Absolute garbage.
Now, this is the Chicago course
The
you're talking
Chicago
about?
street course. If you're going to have a street race, if you're bent on having a street race, and you take a road course out to replace it, my opinion, you take Sonoma.
Wow.
You take Sonoma.
That's big.
One. Road America, the race was really good last year. Watkins Glen consistently produces a great race.
Agreed.
The jury is still out on COTA because you had weather issues last year.
Big time. Good grief.
Indianapolis, the jury's still out on it because you had some technical issues you had to overcome last year.
Well, and I will say this. Roger Penske really likes the idea of, and quite frankly, TV likes the idea of having a NASCAR IndyCar doubleheader weekend. So, in all likelihood, Indy road course race is not going away.
No. Roval's a Roval.
Yeah, it is.
If you're bent on going to a street course race, you go turn around, you go communicate and talk with that gentleman that has the nickname of the Captain, and you do another double header.
Ooh. IndyCar and NASCAR on the street course in Chicago.
No.
Okay. Where are you talking then?
Detroit.
Belle Isle.
Not Belle Isle.
Well, that's true, too, because
course.
they're going to move it downtown next year, aren't they?
Detroit.
I see where you're going with that.
Go Detroit.
I see where you're going with that.
You're not racing around a doggone park in Chicago. You're racing through a true street course.
And GM wouldn't mind it as well because you could put some Chevrolet Camaros with the backdrop of the GM Heritage Center right there.
I'm pretty sure Ford wouldn't mind it either.
Probably wouldn't mind it much either. You might be onto something, but the question is are you listening, Ben? By the way, the day before being given the title of Chief Operating Officer, Steve O'Donnell met with media in Phoenix via a teleconference, admitted that NASCAR is watching the move towards electric cars. Now, before you freak out, listen. He admitted all three NASCAR makers, Chevy, Ford, and Toyota, are preparing to build a whole lot of electric cars for sale to the public. And they've also expressed some interest in racing them in some way, shape, or form. O'Donnell said this, quote, "We are exploring some opportunities around an exhibition series in that space." And as everyone knows, there's a huge push across all of our partners, even potentially new OEM partners, in other words, original equipment manufacturers, Reed, Chevy, Ford, Toyota. So it's important for us to explore that space. I think there's a lot of interest from our current partners to be a part of that. But all that being said, O'Donnell made sure to note that NASCAR has no plans to go all electric anytime in the near future. Said that instead of going all electric, it would seem that a hybrid powertrain for NASCAR Cup Series, Xfinity, and trucks would be much more likely than going all electric.
Which that's pretty much what F1 is at.
Yeah, and IndyCar is there.
IndyCar's there too. But
I've got a comment on this.
Okay.
I drive a hybrid.
Yes, you do.
And from my experience with my hybrid,
CRN news van,
this is not really an option because you're not really a hybrid doing 180 miles an hour around a track.
No.
Because you're 99.995%
on the throttle.
On the throttle in
Hard.
the engine.
Yeah. It's what this would end up being is more of an energy recovery system, truth be told. It's not a hybrid like you would see in a road going car. I mean, this is an oddly race prepared hybrid situation that they would be talking about here. And here's the thing. I mean, I've said this before. The first couple of years I went to Talladega, they started the cars on pit road, but they were all the way down to the entrance to pit road, and they were double wide. And I was sitting in an area that was within a couple of sections either way of the start-finish line. And later on, turned out the old trailer booth for the PA system. Back then, they could give the order for all 43 cars to start their engines, and we were so far away you couldn't hear it. As they started to roll, about halfway down pit road, you started to hear this droning, buzzing sound, and you finally started to hear the engines. Now, they've got them all the way lined up, single file down pit road. If you're anywhere in the grandstands as a general rule and they give the command to start engines, you're going to hear them all rumble. And there is something to be said about that command and them actually starting the engines. And truth be told, it's the same in IndyCar as it is in NASCAR. There's something to be said about hearing the command and then hearing those engines fire up, as opposed to drivers, turn your batteries on.
No, you wouldn't even hear that. It'd be just a click, click.
Yeah, I mean, that's really it. I mean,
drivers, engage your starter switches.
Yeah. Click.
Click.
Thanks. So, yeah.
It's funny you say, funny you're talking about that. I engaged Marshall Pruitt on Twitter.
Okay.
And everybody knows Marshall Pruitt writes for Racer.com. They were talking about giving the commands and how they give the commands and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Making the comment about the drivers and the gentlemen and this and this and that. Marshall had an article about some of the female team members of the sport, and there was nothing wrong with it. Trust me, it was a great piece. Why don't we just say, why aren't we going back to the lady and gentleman? Because you say gentlemen start your engines. Technically, IndyCar, the drivers don't start the engines yet.
That's true. That's coming, but it's not there yet.
Yet. All I did is chimed in this right here. I said, drivers needs to go. It's 2 PC. One lady in the field, lady and gentlemen. More than one, ladies and gentlemen.
Sure.
All guys, gentlemen, start your engines.
Yeah. I don't see a problem with that.
That is, for me being on Twitter, that is my highest engaged tweet I have ever put out.
Well, and you and I both know this, and John knows it as well. All three of us know this. And in case you're not familiar with it, let's just say that the pre-race ceremonies, they're very highly coordinated.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
There's nothing said by anybody.
No.
That isn't at least based upon a script. Okay?
This
it's signed off in triplicate, basically.
Yeah, basically.
Everything is orchestrated.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you get all these grand marshals who, yeah, I mean, you know, they're anybody from comedians to actors and actresses to whatever. But how hard is it to go up to them and go, here's what you say, Gentlemen, start your engines. Lady and gentlemen, start your engines. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not that hard to go up to them and go, here's what you say, here's your microphone. And if you want to go, hey, I'm John Myers from the Championship Racing Network. We appreciate you listening to us. And gentlemen, start your engines. Okay, that's fine. As long as you get that gentlemen, start your engines thing. But it's not that hard to tell them, here's your lineup. And based upon the lineup, here's what you're going to say.
Well, it depends on the actor or actress, too.
Wow, it's probably
true. Well, that is true, but
some of them can't remember their lines to save themselves.
the last two, yeah, true. The last two vivid times I remember the variant. Let's say that, and no, we're not talking about COVID either. The variant. I remember an ARCA race. If I'm not mistaken, it was my first ARCA race in the booth. They had the Talladega County commissioners were given the command to start the race. I remember there were 4 females in the race. They all said, gentlemen, start your engines.
Yeah.
The last time it was said in a cup race that I remember is when the Daytona 500 got moved to Monday. They had Leonard Wood, Eddie Wood, and I think it was Jordan, Eddie's daughter. They all done the command. Leonard said, lady, because Danica was in the race, lady and gentlemen, start your engines. Do you seriously think anybody's going to tell Leonard Wood, no, you can't say that, or Richard Petty, or anybody like that? No.
No, they're not.
They're not.
They're not. All right, let's move on from this.
Yeah, because I could stay on a soapbox the rest of the show about it.
We could draw back the curtain on that for a long time. We may have to do a PA roundtable again, just to kind of talk about it. I want to mention this again. You talked about it last hour. Let's talk about it again because it deserves this. Because our thoughts and prayers go out to David Gilliland Racing.
Yep.
In morning this week, Tuesday, ARCA Menard Series hauler heading to Phoenix for what ended up being last night's race, involved in a crash along I-20 westbound near the town of Longview, Texas. According to reports, the driver of the DGR hauler at the time was Steven Stotts. He, quote, failed to control his speed and struck the vehicle he was following, the impact of which caused that car to roll onto its side in the center median. The report continues the DGR hauler also traveled into the center median, struck the concrete barrier, caught fire. Its towed trailer turning onto its side in the center median. All of this happened about 4:25. The initial report said PM. You're saying AM.
It was AM.
AM, local time Tuesday evening. That could have been a typo on their part. With clear skies, dry road conditions, according to the report. Stotts passed away due to the crash. He was 54 years old. 2 other passengers in the hauler, other drivers, 38-year-old John Zaveri, 45-year-old Michael Mazzell, were taken to a local hospital. On last report, listed in stable condition. The driver in the SUV hauling the utility trailer in front of the hauler also taken to the same hospital. Upon last report, he was listed as stable. Again, our thoughts and our prayers go out to DGR David Gilliland Racing in the wake of losing Steven Stotts. He again was 54 years old.
Don't touch that dial. The Championship Racing Network will be right back. 2 tires only, and back out to the track for more action on the Championship Racing Network.
Welcome back in. I'm Steve West alongside Matt Nicholson, producer John Myers here, rolling through this edition of the Championship Racing Network. We're up to talk about the Superstar Racing experience. Last year saw a father-son duel in the Season 1 finale. Chase Elliott, Bill Elliott battling it out in a race where it turned out Tony Stewart, the co-founder of the series, celebrated winning his first title and the series' first ever title. Series 2 promises at least one father-son duel as well. It is not Chase and Bill Elliott, at least not yet. The one that's confirmed is Dave Blaney and his son Ryan Blaney.
Hey now.
They're confirmed as entrants for the Season 2 finale at Sharon Speedway in Ohio, which, number one, it's where the Blaneys are from, and that 3/8 mile dirt track also happens to be owned by Dave.
Yeah, I kind of seen that one coming.
I'm getting the funny feeling it ain't the last one, by the way.
Nope.
Just saying. Turning our attention to the NHRA, 3 well-known members of the NHRA have been inducted into the National Motorsports Hall of Fame in Daytona, Florida, again, located on the grounds of Daytona International Speedway. One of them, Top Fuel champion Dick LaHaye, he won his own driving title in 1987, then retired from driving, became a crew chief, and won 2 more titles with driver Scott Coletta, 1994 and 1995. His career as a driver and a crew chief spanned 4 decades. Unfortunately, he will not be there in person. He passed away in 2018, so he'll be inducted posthumously. Then you got the motorcycle legends of Vance and Hines. Both Terry Vance and Byron Hines are going in. Back in 1979, they were competing riders who decided to pool their efforts, use their riding talent, their business acumen, and their knowledge of racing motorcycles to go and build a dominant organization that developed and built high-performance parts for the entire motorcycle industry. And a good number of race winners at that. It's a legacy that continues to today with their sons, Matt and Andrew. Both have won NHRA titles of their own. So congratulations to all of them. This weekend down in Florida marks the 2022 debut of the one non-Camping World Drag Racing Series division that we cover because, quite frankly, it's too much fun not to talk about it. It is the Constant Aviation Factory Stock Showdown. If you're new to the show and or to the NHRA, this is a division that pits cars that you actually could buy, assuming you had a fat enough paycheck, from your local dealer. They're running Chevy Copo Camaros, Dodge Challenger drag packs, and Ford Mustang Cobra Jets, these high-end performance rides that have attracted drivers from the Camping World Drag Racing Series, including Aaron Stanfield from the Pro Stock Car Division. This year will mark the 2nd year of what they're calling the Bounty Program as well. And Stanfield's the guy that's got the bounty mark heading into this weekend. It's up to $2,000. And this is for any driver who can beat Stanfield during the elimination rounds. 6-time Pro Stock winner Mark Pollock feels that he is up to that challenge, but should he not be, and should Stanfield win this weekend at the Gator Nationals, that bounty increases for $1,000, and for $1,000 for each and every race that Stanfield can remain unbeaten. Didn't look at the full series, but last year I know they ran 8 races in all. Yeah. They're going to run at least that many more. Mm-hmm. So Stanfield is a man on a mission.
But
he's being hunted.
He is.
It'll be fun.
Yep.
By the way, should you want to buy, number one, you got to get in real early because they only build these Copo Camaros, Challenger drag packs, or Mustang Cobra Jets in very limited numbers. And number two, if you're going to buy it, you better have 6 figures ready to go in your check because otherwise you ain't getting one.
Yeah, no joke.
I got an email. I went ahead and signed up for several different emails, and Chevrolet's one of them. And they sent me an email that talked about I could order a Chevy Copo Camaro. Just click here. And I'm like, okay, I'll be your Huckleberry. I'll check it out. So I click on it, and I go through the order form, and I realize that there are not 1, but 3 different levels of a Chevy Copo Camaro that you could buy. The least expensive one was $103,000.
Uh-huh.
To do one on the level that you're running the NHRA, about $130,000.
That's what I was about to say. I was going to say $150,000.
It's not bad if you got the money. I don't.
Keyword if.
It's not bad comparatively speaking.
That's true. But I ain't got the money.
Build a NASCAR for that.
No, can't do it. You're right about that.
I know somebody who can.
Okay.
Just saying.
Might need to talk. When IndyCar returns to the Iowa Speedway after a year away from the Newton, Iowa short track, they are coming back in style. See, along with the racing, IndyCar has announced no less than 4 award-winning music acts are going to be part of the doubleheader weekend. So you got a race on Saturday. Before Saturday's race, Tim McGraw will perform a concert. Then after the race, Bro Country headliners Florida Georgia Line take the stage. Okay. Sunday, you got the husband and wife team of Gwen Stefani and Blake Shelton. Stefani leads into the race, Shelton going on after it. Should you like to take in either or both days, tickets are available right now through the site, Hy-Vee, H-Y-V-E-E, HyVeeIndyCarWeekend.com. You can call 641-417-6007. I just go to Hy-Vee IndyCar Weekend. Tickets to the race are enough, kind of like if you go to Talladega, if you get the Sunday ticket, you can go to the infield concert that happens on Saturday night.
Mm-hmm.
If you got tickets to either race, the musical performances are included, not extra.
Yep.
As to some driver news, AJ Foyt Racing has become a 3-car operation for 2022. You have the number 14, the traditional one, driven by the rookie, Kyle Kirkwood. You got the number 4, being driven by Dalton Kellett. Strangely enough, Kellett in his 3rd year is the veteran of this group because the 3rd car is the number 11, driven on road and street courses this year by a Colombian native that you had never heard of before, her name, Tatiana Calderon. But to be a full-time car, you have oval races that you need to fill. Well, that happened yesterday, as AJ Foyt Racing officially named J.R. Hildebrand as the driver of those oval track races. Okay, then.
Still hanging around.
He is. Hildebrand is now 34 years old, by far the oldest of the young stable of the Foyt 2022 drivers. He'll get his first run next weekend in Texas. Hildebrand drove a 4th IndyCar or Indy 500 entry for Foyt Racing last season, where he finished 15th, and he was the highest of the 4 Foyt racers that were running that day. In his 66 IndyCar starts, J.R. Hildebrand has 3 podium finishes, but no wins dating back to 2010, having raced for some 5 different teams. I would imagine J.R. Hildebrand was brought in not only for the fact that he can run on the ovals, but for the fact that he's got the experience and he can start talking to a Kyle Kirkwood and a Dalton Kellett and maybe even to a Tatiana Calderon and say, hey, listen.
Agreed.
This is what I'm seeing. This is what you need to fix. This is what's good.
I was going to say as a mentor.
Yes, I would guarantee it. Some sad news out of the IndyCar world. Passing of a former driver, Danny Ongais. You might remember the name. Maybe you don't. Ongais hailed from Hawaii. He was admired for his speed right out of the box and bravery behind the wheel. Born May 21st, 1942 in the state of Hawaii, before it was a state officially. He began his racing career on motorcycles in 1960, then moved to drag racing, where he began to make his name as we headed into the 70s. He was runner-up to Mike Snively in the final Top Fuel points 1966. Moved to funny cars, won the famed U.S. Nationals in Indianapolis 1969, running for the legendary Mickey Thompson. Well, Thompson tried to enter him into the 1968 Indy 500, but Ongais' lack of open-wheel racing experience had led to a denial to drive that race. He would also serve in the armed forces in the early 1960s. While over in Europe, he got introduced to sports car racing. So he decided in the early 1970s to go from the NHRA to SCCA competition, where he was seen by a guy by the name of Ted Field. Seems Ted had just started his own team backed by his own Interscope Records label. The two paired up for several Formula 5000 and IndyCar races in the late 1970s. And, as it turned out, 4 Formula One races, 1977 and 1978. He actually finished 7th in the 1977 Canadian Grand Prix. The best regular season together between Field and Ongais was 1978. Ongais won 5 races, finished 8th in final USAC standings, including being the kind of the meat in the sandwich of the first all 200-mile-per-hour front row of an Indy 500. Remember, 33 cars, 11 rows. They start 3 wide. His daring, though, ended his full-time racing career in the 1980s. He suffered several severe crashes during the decade, but he always seemed to be able to get a ride to at least attempt to qualify for the Indy 500. He tried that each and every year through 1996, when he didn't qualify his own car, but he actually ended up driving for John Menard when Menard's driver, Scott Brayton, suffered unfortunate, severe, and fatal injuries in a post-qualifying practice session. Ongais brought his final Indy 500 ride home 7th that day. In all, Ongais completed competed in 13 of 14 Indy 500s that he attempted to qualify for. He led 4 of those races for 79 total laps. Ongais was so highly thought of that he was named 39th among the NHRA's top 50 drivers from 1951 to 2000. He was inducted into the Motorsports Hall of Fame in 2000, but he passed away, very private guy, back on February the 26th due to congestive heart failure at his home in Anaheim Hills, California. Danny Ongais was 79 years old. Among the people who thought very highly of him and spoke very highly of him, no less than Tony Stewart, who had nothing but praise upon learning about Danny Ongais.
Pretty high praise right there.
Absolutely. You can get a guy who he himself has tried on several occasions to win an Indy 500, but fell short and knew about Ongais' talent. Yeah, that says a lot.
All right, I got something right here.
Go for it.
It just literally broke on social media from racer.com and is being retweeted and blown up.
Oh, here we go.
Proportions. And it has an IndyCar and an F1 tie-in, so I figured this may be a good time to interject since we're right here in between and about to transition to F1.
Yeah. It's a nice bridge.
McLaren has signed a pretty large name to a Formula One development deal out of IndyCar.
Oh, really?
That driver, you ask? This article was written and posted by Marshall Pruitt at 9 a.m. our time, so 33 minutes ago.
I'd say there's some heft to it then.
So this is breaking. Colton Herta will open his Formula One account with McLaren Racing. This is straight from the Racer.com article posted by Marshall Pruitt. Racer has learned that the front-running NTT IndyCar Series driver has been signed to a testing and development deal by McLaren that will see the 21-year-old take part in F1 tests designed to interweave within his full-time Andretti Autosport IndyCar program. The son of former kart IndyCar driver will engage with McLaren. IndyCar driver Brian Herta will engage with McLaren through F1's TPC allowance, testing of previous car for the team's MCL 35M chassis from 2021 or another recent model will be deployed for Herta's dedicated outings. Herta is likely to be joined by other driver in McLaren's TPC pool at present, which I'm pretty sure that's Pato Award.
More than likely.
In there. Does not include any FP1 practice sessions or so forth.
Right. So it has to be a car that is not the current year vehicle.
Correct.
This all tells me that Michael Andretti's probably closer than anyone thinks.
You are correct, sir.
To getting a Formula One team. Keep an eye on it. We'll let you know. Meanwhile, preseason testing in Bahrain, official timed testing, not the one over in Barcelona, which was unofficial. For the first and only time, this Formula One preseason got underway on Thursday. When Haas F1 finally showed up on track, they were late. They had rebranded cars, now looking a lot like when they debuted back in 2016, white with the stylized Haas Automation logo on the side. Got to remember, they've cut ties with Ural Kali. You can see the car as it will run this season if you're checking out our YouTube feed, photos courtesy of ESPN. You can see it showing the red front wing, the white rear wing, white along the top of the racer, a red stripe which leads into black along the bottom. In other words, pretty much what we're familiar with when they're not massively sponsored by somebody.
Pretty much.
In addition to cutting ties with the sponsor Ural Kali, they also cut ties with driver Nikita Mazepin. Last weekend, for the first time, team owner Gene Haas opened up about it. Remember, this is last weekend. A lot of things happening this week. We're going to take them in chronological order. Haas said, quote, "There's a lot of intense criticism about the Ukrainian invasion, and it was just getting overwhelming. We can't deal with all that. Our other sponsors can't deal with all that." So as for the sponsorship issue, Haas had an issue there as well. He said this, quote, "Haas has always been the major primary sponsor." I don't know why people said it became a Russian team.
Time.
We'll pause the quote. Go.
Time. If you don't paint your car like a Russian flag and put the livery of the Russian flag colors on your car, then people won't have a reason to call you a Russian team.
And by the way, the official name of the team at the time was the Ural Kali Haas F1 team.
Thank you.
But anyway, Gene Haas continued, Haas Automation was always on the car, which is true. He then added, quote, "We're good. We're fine. We'd like more money, but we're fine." And I imagine he probably did take a pretty decent financial hit. I mean, we don't know the exact details of the Ural Kali deal. But I would imagine, yeah, he did take a pretty serious financial hit by losing that incoming money.
I would be willing to bet. No, I'll be willing. I am going to bet you that the money coming from Haas Automation, the company, Haas Automation,
Sure.
and Eurocali was all but equal.
Probably. But still, that's a financial hit.
True.
Okay? So here's the thing. For all the people that have been on social media complaining about the fact that, hey, it's an American team, why can't you get an American sponsor? Hey, if you own your own American company, call Gene Haas. I bet you he'd take your call. It's on you. Now, Haas also noted that they were going to have reserve driver Pietro Fittipaldi on hand for testing and racing in Bahrain next weekend, should things be needed, but he wasn't going to commit to him becoming a primary second to their other driver, Mick Schumacher, just yet. Again, this is early this week. Gene Haas said, quote, "We're in the process of looking at several candidates. We'll see who's available and what we have to deal with. Pietro will definitely be in it. That's what he's here for. He's the test driver. I think we're looking. I think we'd obviously like to get someone with a little bit more actual experience. We'll just have to see what's available." Well,
bingo card slot number 2.
Yeah. So what was available, you might ask?
If anybody had this one on their bingo card, please think about it over the upcoming break we have coming, and then let us know.
Yeah, because if you did, you got more clairvoyance than anybody on this show did.
I'm flying you to Alabama, and we're going to Georgia and play the lottery.
I was going to say, head over to Georgia, grab me a lottery ticket or 2 or 3 or 5.
Yes, exactly.
We'll be good to
We'll
go.
tell you what Haas F1 ended up doing with that second seat and who will team with Mick Schumacher this year when we come back. You're listening to CRN.
Don't touch that dial. The Championship Racing Network will be right back. fuel only. Go, go, go. We're back to the Championship Racing Network.
We are back. I'm Steve West with Matt Nicholson, producer John Myers. Portions of the show being brought to you by Ox Foundation Solutions and our good friend Michael Hart. You don't want to take chances with what, in all likelihood, is going to be the most expensive purchase you will make in your lifetime. No, I'm not talking about the used car that you want. I'm talking about your home. Michael Hart at Ox Foundation Solutions is the guy you need to call at 205-362-6419 or Mike at oxfoundations.com to make sure that the foundation of your home is everything that it needs to be for making your home a long-lasting house for you and your entire family. Give him a call or email him. Set up a time for him to come out. If you're anywhere in the state of Alabama, he'll get you a no-cost, no-obligation written foundation assessment. What does that mean for you? Well, it means really cool things. If you think you have a problem, he goes and he actually checks it out. He knows what he's looking for, inside, outside, upside, downside. It doesn't matter. And he will come back with a written foundation assessment. If he found nothing, he'll say, found nothing. He'll hand you a copy of it, shake your hand, you go your separate ways. If he did find something, you'll sit down, he'll detail it as it is on the paper, explain it to you, what it is that he found in terms that, quite frankly, someone like me, who knows nothing about the foundation of his house, can easily understand. And then explain the price situation to you. And then you throw out the fact that you heard about it right here on CRN, give him the promo code WEST, get 15% off of that total. Got nothing to lose. 205-362-6419, Mike at oxfoundations.com. Don't forget the promo code WEST. Make sure that your house is Ox strong. You want it to last a very long time. Michael Hart can make that happen for you. All right. So Haas F1, trying to figure out who's going to pair with Mick Schumacher in year 2 because Ural Kali as a sponsor is gone. It's owned by Dmitry Mazepin, who is the father of Nikita Mazepin. Well, Nikita's gone too. We need another driver. Pietro Fittipaldi was on hand. He was there. He did some testing. He wasn't the fastest. He wasn't necessarily the slowest either, to his credit.
No.
But Gene Haas said just before the break, we noted this, they would like to have somebody with a little more experience. So as they went through the week, you kind of get reminded of the old phrase of what once was old is new again. Haas F1 has returned to the past for their future. The second driver who will team with Mick Schumacher, despite the willingness of one Pietro Fittipaldi, is Kevin Magnussen, their driver from 2017 through 2020. Now, the ripe old age of 29, Kevin Magnussen had thought his F1 career was over when he was dropped after the 2000 season. He raced last year in IndyCar, IMSA, and the World Endurance Challenge Series. But team principal Gunther Steiner said of Magnussen, quote, when looking for a driver who could bring value to the team, not to mention a wealth of Formula One experience, Kevin was a straightforward decision for us. Kevin's immediate availability means we can tap into him as a resource for preseason testing alongside both Mick and Pietro. Fittipaldi remained in Bahrain for preseason testing and probably will remain throughout the race weekend just in case something happens and goes sideways. But it's going to give Pietro Fittipaldi some valuable experience. And here's the other thing. Instead of what he had last year, which is the relative inexperience of Mick Schumacher and Nikita Mazepin, now Pietro Fittipaldi and Mick Schumacher have 29-year-old veteran F1 racer Kevin Magnussen to get some experience and some tips from.
His quote, when looking for a driver who could bring value to the team, not to mention a wealth of F1 experience, Kevin was a straightforward decision for us. Then why did you dismiss him to begin with?
I agree. This is a move that paid, by the way, almost immediate dividends, along with a year plus to work on a new car. Granted, an extra hour of testing due to the problem of shipping the racers into Bahrain for testing on Thursday. F1 granted Haas F1 an extra hour Friday afternoon after the main testing session was over. Magnussen was behind the wheel and using the exact same compound tires as Carlos Sainz, who had the fastest time. Magnussen best that time by 0.325 seconds. In other words, he had the fastest time by over 0.3. Sainz, before being taken off the top speed of the charts, Sainz himself was 0.4 faster than the next fastest guy. So that means that when this car is running well, it's got speed.
if anybody had Haas car being at the head of a session, at the top of the session and testing on their bingo cards, let me know.
I don't think even Gunther Steiner and Gene Haas had that at this point in time.
No. I don't think so either.
As for what will be a continuing soap opera regarding the Haas decision to cut ties with Ural Kali and the driver Nikita Mazepin, the latest has Ural Kali, the company, seeking full reimbursement from Haas F1 of the monies paid to this point of the year. A statement from the company said, in part, quote, the company views the team's decision as unreasonable and believes that sports should always be free of politics and pressure from external factors. Sorry, folks, that doesn't work.
Nope.
Let me take you back to 1980 and 1984 when the Olympics were held in Moscow in 1980 and the U.S. and its allies boycotted it because the USSR invaded Afghanistan. And then 4 years later when the Summer Olympics were in Los Angeles, and for no reason whatsoever other than, well, hey, you did it to us, so we're going to do it to you, the Russian bloc, the USSR bloc, decided to boycott the L.A. Olympics. Yeah, sorry, Ural Kali. Your argument holds no water. But anyway, their argument continued, quote, the refund from Haas and the remaining part of Ural Kali's sponsor financing for 2022 will be used to establish the We Compete as One Athlete Support Foundation. It's the foundation being one that's actually being started by Nikita to support athletes that are being blocked from competing due to their being either Russian or Belarusian and not being allowed to compete under either one of those flags.
Here we go again.
I got to admit, I don't have a problem with him starting this.
Right.
But at the same time, you got to realize it's your president who started all this junk. And instead of complaining to us about it, maybe you ought to go complaining to him. Except you might end up in a gulag over in Siberia, but that's another story entirely.
Yeah, that's...
If you made it to the gulag.
Yeah, that's true too. As to running through the 23 race slate in 2022, one thing is still unknown. We do not know where Formula One's set to go in place of the Russian Grand Prix because nothing's been said officially. One other thing is known.
Gobble, gobble.
Yeah, in all likelihood, it's going to be Turkey, but they haven't said so. What we do know is this. 2 countries will have 2 races this year. We told you about this previously. The United States has the Miami and the U.S. Grand Prix. Well, Italy has the Italian Grand Prix. That's the one at Monza. And they also have the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix, which will run at Imola again. Liberty Media has made this known. They have signed an extension to that deal. That Imola race will remain on the schedule through at least the 2025 season. So assuming everything in the U.S. and in Italy works, 2 countries will have at least 2 races through 2025. But wait, there's more. Imola first hosted Formula One back in 1980, but then the Italian Grand Prix moved back to Monza, where the race is still being run. Imola stepped in during the COVID pandemic, helped schedule, kind of fill in some schedule gaps. 2020, returned again for 2021. And oh, by the way, they're still talking about a 3rd U.S.-based race. Las Vegas is being highly touted. I guess we'll see.
I-20 exit 140.
Please, bring it to Barber, man. Come on.
Speaking of F1 and the testing, the morning testing session has completed.
Okay. What you got?
No surprise here. That's a Red Bull, not a Red Bull Honda, a Red Bull.
It's still a Honda engine. I don't care what they say.
Sergio Perez.
Well, okay. It's a little bit of a surprise. Not too much. Sergio is a very good driver.
A 133-105.
Okay.
Second, the Alfa Romeo of Guanyu Zhou. Or
hello.
However the heck you say that name.
Close enough.
133.95.
Okay.
Perez is 8/10 quicker.
Second on the speed charts, though.
Pierre Gasly in the AlphaTauri. 3rd. Carlos Sainz in the Ferrari. 4th. Fernando Alonso in the Alpine. 5th. Even though I want to say Alpine.
I know. That's what it looks like.
Lando Norris in the McLaren. 6th. Nicholas Latifi in the Williams. 7th.
Ooh.
Lance Stroll in the Aston Martin, 8th.
Okay.
Sir Lewis Hamilton in the Mercedes in 9th.
We got some Mercedes stuff coming here in just a second.
And back to the bottom they go. Kevin Magnussen in the Haas, 10th.
How far off?
He is 2.4 seconds slower than the Mercedes.
Ouch.
This is my question before we say this right here.
I will say this. They've been having some technical problems over there at Haas. So
They have.
there may be something there to that.
This with this Mercedes, they made these changes. It will be detailed.
Mm-hmm.
After these changes were made, Mercedes got slower.
Yes, they did.
Are they slower legitimately, or are they sandbagging?
That's a good question. What we're talking about is something you're going to be able to see on our YouTube feed here momentarily. Mercedes is inviting criticism and a close review of their 2022 car by Formula One officials. Seems that the car that Mercedes showed everybody back in Barcelona a couple of weeks ago, you can see that on our YouTube feed, seemed fairly conventional when they showed up in Bahrain, the season opener. Other teams noted that they changed the side pods, as witnessed in the second picture that you'll see. Both of these pictures on ESPN. We'll kind of flip back and forth between them here. Underneath, everything seems to be the same. You take all the cowling and the covers off. Radiators are pretty much in the same spot, but they took a decidedly different tack on the bodywork, specifically of the side pods. Formula One's motorsports boss, Ross Brawn, did not say that they were illegal. But he did add this. Mercedes did something nobody thought of. Quote, there's no doubt that the Mercedes concept we didn't anticipate. I don't think. It's a very extreme interpretation of the regulation. I think there's going to be inevitably a lot of debate about their interpretation and what happens with the new regs. Now, if you're not able to check out the YouTube feed, the side pods go from the traditional looks of kind of a square opening to feed air into the radiators that moves down the bodywork. It's shaped more like a, kind of a point-down triangle, and makes the widest part of the air take now down against the floorboard and up against just behind the cockpit instead of on the side of the car, just under the driver's head alongside the cockpit. Doesn't sound like much, but when you're talking about aerodynamics, if this turns out to be smoother, this could be a significant advantage because it does seem sleeker.
It does
seem. Whether or not it is, I don't know. Maybe it takes away some downforce, which could be a problem.
Creates drag.
Right. Red Bull's Christian Horner initially said to the media, quote, Mercedes have gone a step too far.
God, I love him.
That doesn't correspond to the spirit of the regulations. That was before the team later said that those comments were incorrect, their word, not ours, and that the team actually has, quote, no official comment. Right.
God, I love Christian Horner.
Ferrari team principal Mattia Binotto was a bit more diplomatic. He said, quote, no doubt about it. It's a great car. That shouldn't be a surprise to us. It is a concept quite different to ours, quite interesting with the cooling layout and the side pods. Mercedes is insisting that Formula One and FIA officials had been advised of their plans for the new side pods and the crash structure every step of the way, and nobody raised any red flags.
You know who I would like to have seen in the past? It would be a F1 engineer, Junior Johnson.
Yeah.
Like Darryl says on that show, boy, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
They're trying everything that they can.
Yeah, they can.
Over at McLaren, driver Daniel Ricciardo got diagnosed with COVID-19 on Friday. According to local regulations in Bahrain, he will go into isolation. Thing is, he has been vaccinated. He is quite healthy. Obviously, he's a Formula One driver, so it's expected he'll be cleared to race next weekend once he's gotten past the worst of it. There's no surprise there. Audi, apparently getting even more serious about the possibility of joining Formula One. They've been working up an LMDH prototype that's got eyes on entering it in the World Endurance Challenge Series. Think 24 Hours Le Mans 2023. Seems they've put the brakes on that program because they want to more fully investigate entering Formula One. Now, as opposed to being a works team, this VW-owned brand, Audi, would come in as an engine supplier, not a racing team. At this time, they're being closely linked to McLaren should they actually join, which probably wouldn't be until the 2026 season when you introduce the new engine regulations. Audi Motorsport engineers have been working on both the WEC Racer program and the F1 engine program, with most people thinking that they had the resources to be able to pull both of them off. But now reports have Audi stopping all the work on the WEC program to concentrate on the viability of the Formula One engine program. Now, we mentioned McLaren, but there's another interesting connection here, as Williams could be a possibility. They're currently over at Williams running Mercedes engines. But the guy who's now in charge of Williams as their CEO and team principal, Jost Capito, is the former director of VW Motorsports.
Interesting.
We'll have to find out. Want to have some fun? Have you played a Formula One video game yet?
The closest thing I've driven on Formula One in simulation is on iRacing.
Okay. Well, we're going to have a new for 2022 F1 video game set to come out this summer. Going to be another opportunities for players that was not available to you beforehand. You get to take charge of the entire racing organization in an attempt to take them to the top and become a title-winning team. Frontier Developments is the company that's putting the final touches on the game right now. They state that the title of the game is F1 Manager 2022. It will allow you, the player, to become not just a driver, but an owner and or team manager of a Formula One team, which will give you an overview of the team, control of your car upgrades, your home factory and offices, your driver contracts, your budgets, and so much more. Find out how expensive Formula One actually is. And all that's in your off season. Once you get in season, it's also very involved as the owner/team principal. It becomes up to you to move into the position of making the decisions of keeping your drivers on track, making the right pit decisions, and so much more. F1 Manager 2022 slated for a summer release with no exact date given. It'll be available for PlayStation 4 and 5, Xbox Series XS, Xbox One, something called Steam, something called Epic Store. Via Steam, you can place it on a wish list, but they're not taking pre-orders yet. Keyword yet. And one more note on the heels of yesterday's release of the Netflix series Formula One Drive to Survive. Apple Plus has announced a deal to produce a documentary about seven-time F1 champion Sir Lewis Hamilton. The not-yet-named project will be directed by British filmmaker Matt Kay, produced by Hamilton and One Community and Box to Box Films. One Community and Box to Box Films produce Formula One Drive to Survive, so you'll kind of get an idea of the quality of it. They have also produced the acclaimed documentary Senna about the Formula One champion Ayrton Senna. That's a great one if you haven't seen it. And Maradona, surrounding the life and times of international soccer legend Diego Maradona. There's no release date yet on this particular Hamilton documentary. Hamilton, by the way, is also linked to a possible Apple Plus film set to star Brad Pitt if all wishes come true. Pitt would become a veteran racer coming out of retirement to mentor a young driver while also seeking a last chance at glory himself. A movie that, while as yet unconfirmed, not only would star Pitt and maybe Hamilton himself in a smaller role, but likely have Days of Thunder producer Jerry Bruckheimer producing it, and Top Gun Maverick director Joseph Krasinski and scriptwriter Aaron Kruger involved in those same roles there as well. I guess we'll see. Speaking of Drive to Survive, for those of you that stick around and check out our YouTube feed, we're going to bring you our After the Show show. That's right, it's just for our YouTube viewers only. Go to YouTube, search CRN Live, and about, give or take 5 minutes from now, we'll talk a little bit about Netflix's Formula One Drive to Survive season number 4, and we'll see what else we can get into. Hope you enjoyed this edition of the show. We'll be back next weekend right here on CRN on 95.1 The Mountain and the 95.1 Mountain app. Take it easy. Thank you for checking out the Championship Racing Network.
This has been a presentation of the Championship Racing Network.